In this video, I am joined by Paul from Grumpy Beard Miniatures. Paul, I ran into you at Gathering Games one time, didn't I?
You did indeed.
You had some models on the counter that
Yes.
were absolute showstoppers.
Thank you very much.
Now, I wonder whether you have always had an inherent skill for art.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, from leaving school, I went straight to college and did art and design.
Yeah.
From there, I went on to 3D design. From there, I ended up working for a company which outsourced pictures for Haynes manuals. So I was very introduced to Photoshop, Illustrator. So I ended up getting into graphic design a bit more. But I've always sketched. I'll have to put in there, I also have ADHD, which is a funny one because I can skip between projects and skip between hobbies without really sticking at something. And I think I started this, first time I picked up a model was 2 years ago. I'd never painted one before. I'd never prepped one before. I'd barely walked past a Warhammer store before. So it was quite new to me. But after watching a lot of YouTube videos, I got to the stage where, yeah, it's becoming more of a full-time career.
Well, I mean, you are as good as they get. I'm in the Warhammer world, and your stuff would sit alongside those models any day of the week. How do you decide on color schemes?
It's an interesting one. I've never honestly gone for a color scheme that has ever been in a codex. I've always used my own knowledge of color theory to make up my own schemes. I think I'm actually doing a Dark Angels army at the minute, and this is the first time I've used a codex compliant color scheme in anything. So yeah, it's very much how I feel on the day, actually.
Yeah, how much paint you've got left?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
So yeah, I've followed these painting tutorials, and yes, it brings out a better result than I expect from my own hands. But there's no inherent gift. I can look at a model and just go, I don't know where to start. Other than even undercoating seemed like, oh, do I have to undercoat it? I just want to paint it,
Yeah.
But these steps are so important, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to get to grips with the basics, such as priming. It's stuff like mold line removal.
Yeah.
It's all part of the end product. And it's how much you want to put into it. You really do get out of it again.
But your color scheme is so advanced. It's like the next level. It's like 1,000 colors where 11 would have done.
I think a lot of that I get carried away. I sort of start something and then it progresses into something else I hadn't really anticipated, and so it adds something else to it where I didn't really mean it to start with. A lot of these unique designs that I've come up with have happened just by chance. I've not planned for them. I've gone into it with a paintbrush and a water palette like everybody else, and what's happened.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Just make your own rules.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things about miniature painting, that it's the freedom of it. You're not strictly, you don't have to adhere to what it says on the box. You can make it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But the main thing is it's practice and practice and practice and practice. And if there's things you want to improve on, you practice at those topics and improve.
Yeah. So I'll put the picture of the shield up here, which seems tiny, and the detail and the well, you've not messed it up. Around that red jewel is a silver tiny bit. How do you go about that? What is the technique?
It's more taking your time and having a bit of patience. I still have to redo things on a regular basis. I don't always get things right first time. Far from it. There's so many things I've redone because you're not happy with it first time around, or you can get it better, or you've seen something and you think that technique might advance you quicker. But it really is a matter of patience.
Do you trim your small brushes even thinner to do that small, or?
No, I think I use 0.3.
Right.
But if brush hairs fall out and then brush hairs fall out.
Yeah.
I don't trim any brushes. I just use the standard brushes that come in any multi-pack, really.
Wow. What techniques do you find most effective? Like, have you tried slap chop and stuff?
I've actually recently done. I mean, I did these with speed paint and a dry brush, and each model took 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Nothing went into it really, but they look good. There's nothing wrong with that if it's an effective way of painting.
Yeah.
That you're happy with. There's no rules that doesn't, you don't have to do it.
So have you got a favourite part? Do you look forward to the minute detail, or why?
Yeah, power weapons and freehand. I always like to doodle something, even if it's just something small like an emblem, an icon. Many a time I've started an icon and it's turned into a full tapestry across the full place. It's just got a bit out of control. But yeah, I think freehand is probably my most favourite. It's probably my favourite method, given the chance.
Yeah. Do you have any favourite models that you like to paint? Do you like to go big or do you like to go small, or not bothered?
I think I find benefits to both. Bigger models, I like them because the opportunity to add some freehand in there because of the size of the panels or whatever you're painting. Smaller ones, I love them exactly the same way, just for the detail and how lifelike you can really try and get them.
Yeah. What about faces? Do you struggle with faces? Because that's
faces. Yeah, up until about 8 months ago, I think they were terrible. But someone I met, they introduced me to Vallejo, and it was the skin color pack. And ever since then, in my face game changed instantly. Everything that you try and do without the right colors, it looks wrong unless you have those specific colors.
Yeah.
I was skeptical at first. I didn't understand why you couldn't just use this one instead of this one, and etc. But it really does make a big difference. And I try and avoid contrast colors. I find that they actually make faces 10 times harder.
Really?
Yeah. I find that going from the darkest color up to the lightest using flat colors works a lot better. That you want.
I remember in store you were saying how dry brushing is kind of your magical thing for you. You don't just daub, you do small, and it sort of builds up. You were saying you build all your layers up.
Yeah,
that's how you did models, and like you say, that all comes down to patience, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does.
Really?
Yeah, I think everything comes down to patience at the end of the day, especially if you want to get to the most efficient level that you can get to, then absolutely patience is key. Absolutely.
And have you thought about entering competitions? Or
I have, but just based on our location, it's quite hard to get to any.
What about models that you quit on at all?
Models I quit on. Okay, pile of shame is what you're asking about. The pile of shame gets left in a box up on the very top shelf, and it stays there. It's the pile that defeated me.
Oh, wow.
I think everyone has one. I don't think there's a painter out there who doesn't have a pile of shame somewhere hidden away.
Well, why can't you just clean it off and start again? What's the?
Oh, I absolutely can do. It's just waiting for an opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
Between commissions, and I've started doing online lessons.
Right.
Between the two, I'm getting very busy, so trying to get back to the older stuff that maybe needs re-looking at. I don't quite have the time, I'm afraid.
So tell me about the online lessons then. You charge a certain fee. Is it one-on-one sort of thing?
Yeah, a certain fee. It's just, I mean, I've just had a guy in Belgium, and he's also one of the clients that I've had some commissions through as well. And he's a collector rather than a player.
Yeah.
But he just wants to get his own painting game up a little bit, and dry brushing was actually a part of the lesson, and basing, as it's not something he's tested before. So we went through that for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And he's now showing me some salamanders he's painted, which it's good.
Yeah. I know when we got on to putting stones and grass on our bases, it suddenly lifted the whole model so much. The base isn't just something it stands on all black. It's like you really can go to town, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, it really does tell a story. I mean, these Space Marines at the minute, I don't particularly like the base that comes with the new Dreadnought in the Leviathan kit. But if I can just show you these, and it's just it does tell a story, and especially if you've got a big army and it's spread across the whole lot, and everything's the same, and you can tell where they are, and I think it's an important part of it.
So you do armies, you don't just pick single models and think I'll do that?
No, I think when I spoke to you last, I think I was very much at the stage where I was sort of just dipping my toe into the water, and I was doing single models, and maybe the odd knight here and there. But now I've started doing sort of up to 1,000 points, 1K sort of region. So yeah, it's all coming together quite nicely.
In D&D, especially Warhammer as well, have you ever bothered doing the terrain?
Yeah, I've done some terrain. Yeah, it's I don't know where it is at the minute, but
stone walls and stuff.
Terrain. Yeah. I think I'm sort of halfway in between starting an old tower defense that's lying somewhere on the shelves behind me. I think you can possibly see it. So that's going to get painted. I've got a possibility of going to a small group tournament tomorrow in town. So I'm going to try and get some bits ready for that for tomorrow.
Dungeons and Dragons, then their models are a bit different to Warhammer. Have you ever painted a big dragon or anything?
I haven't. I think there's only 2 models I've done that haven't been Warhammer related. I think I did a Christmas bust for a Christmas competition, and at the minute I'm painting up Babu Frick from the new Mandalorian series. He's a tiny little engineer. Other than that, no, I haven't actually painted anything Dungeons and Dragons related.
Not
that I'm saying I wouldn't.
No, yeah. Paint-wise, what about metallics and stuff? Or you mentioned contrast, null noil. Is there some that are your favourite, some that you don't really like?
I think contrast paints have their place. I think if you wanted to do a lot of things quickly, I think contrast paints are great. If you're able to zenithal prime with rattle cans, for example, if you want to really push out something fast, I think contrast paints will work really well over a zenithal prime. As far as metallics go, I'm not overly fond of Citadel. I think Vallejo. I haven't had a paint that I don't like yet.
All right, I've not heard of them. So how much do you sort of spend on your hobby?
Personally, not much. I think 99% of my time is taken up with commissions at the minute. I'm doing an orc kill team that's come in. I'm doing a blood rack shrine. I've also got this dark angel units, which I think I should be getting a storm speeder and another unit of hellblasters tomorrow to do. What else is there? I've got a word bearers army on the top shelf there,
right?
And that's actually part of a 5,000 point army.
Wow!
Which we're doing in batches because it's enormous. So that's split into 6 batches. So yes, it's all hands to post at the minute.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I love seeing your stuff. So continue to be enthused by all you do, and I thank you for coming on our little show.
No, not a problem. It's been a pleasure.